Okay, so ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, love you all. This is me, Himanguza, and welcome back to your channel, HJO Vlogs. Right, so without wasting much of time, today we are going to discuss about crash guards or frame sliders. So a lot of times I have, a lot of my friends have asked me that is frame slider better than crash guard? And the answer to it is not very straight. मतलब इतना आसान नहीं है जवाब देना. But I will still explain you. And this is all about science, right? मैंने ये बाइक लेके almost 1 year and 8 odd months हो चुके हैं. मैंने क्रैश गार्ड लगवाया 4-5 महीने पहले. मतलब मैं I waited for more than a year to understand and to figure out what is the best thing, whether it's crash guard, whether it's frame sliders that I can install in my bike. Now I'll tell you, it's all about science. As I said, physics. बचपन में हमने physics पढ़ा था. The speed at which your bike is moving, the velocity, the inertia that it creates, and the way the fall happens, in case unfortunately if that happens. So a lot of things depends on that, right? Now what is frame slider? Frame sliders picture यहाँ पे है. Frame sliders are something that there is a cylindrical kind of a body that pops out of the frame just below your tank, and those are the only two objects that are popping out. And what happens at the time of impact? Impact के वक्त सबसे पहले frame sliders ground को touch होते हैं. कभी कभी एंगल के ऊपर डिपेंड करता है, शायद हैंडल भी थोड़ा सा टच हो, बट हाँ फ्रेम स्लाइडर्स पहले टच हो गए ग्राउंड पे. क्या होगा उससे, क्या होगा? ओके, सो व्हाट हैपेंस इज फ्रेम स्लाइडर्स होते क्या है, जैसे मैंने कहा, इट्स cylindrical body that's popping out of your body, that is after stock that you have installed, and it's attached to the frame. That is the reason why it's called as frame sliders. Now there are two sorts of frame sliders, one with a single bolt and the other with the 2 bolts, right? So both, if it's 2 bolts it's better. Single bolt is not good, that is not that great, but with 2 bolts, and 2 bolts are just next to each other, right next to the frame के बाजू में ऐसे लगे होंगे. और क्रैश के वक्त क्या होगा, that the entire weight of the bike and the speed, the velocity, the inertia that will be created, that it will be twice or thrice the weight of the bike. That will be that will be the impact that will create, the pressure that will create on that particular frame slider, whichever side that you fall. Are they good enough to handle that much of weight? Because गिरते वक्त इम्पैक्ट जब होगा तो वो उसी एक जो पॉइंट है वही इम्पैक्ट लेगा. उससे होगा क्या, व्हाट विल हैपन? द चांसेस, द प्रोबेबिलिटी इज दैट आफ्टर द मूव इन द बाइक, इन केस इफ इट ड्रैग्स, देन देयर इज अ हाई प्रोबेबिलिटी दैट आपकी फ्रेम जो है उस पर डेंट पड़े या बेंड हो, ऐसा कुछ हो. सो इफ समबडी आस्क्स मी दैट इज फ्रेम स्लाइडर बेटर देन क्रैश गार्ड, the answer is no according to me. Okay, then crash guards. What is crash guard? I'm sure all of you have seen that. Crash guard. Now these are crash guards. These are stock crash guards which I got along with my bike. ये मैंने wrap करवा दिया because अभी मैं फ़िलहाल तो यूज़ नहीं करूँगा. मैंने नया जो इंस्टॉल किया है. And what happens with stock crash guards? बहुत अच्छे, बहुत ही मजबूत है, और एट द टाइम ऑफ इम्पैक्ट इसे 2 पॉइंट ऑफ कांटेक्ट मिला है, करेक्ट? 2 है यहाँ पे, 2 साइड्स है. तो जब बाइक जब क्रैश के वक्त व्हेन इट फॉल्स, द प्रोबेबिलिटी ऑफ इट इम्पैक्टिंग योर फ्रेम और द इंजन इज लेस. द रीज़न बीइंग, इम्पैक्ट के वक्त, एट द टाइम ऑफ इम्पैक्ट, the impact will be absorbed by both the points, both the sides, not the single side, unlike in frame sliders, because in frame sliders it's only one side that will absorb the impact. Let's say if this is the frame slider, only this portion only this portion will absorb the impact will be only on this side. But in case of crash guards, both the sides will absorb the impact. That means the probability of it damaging your bike, your frame, is less. Now let's talk about the crash guard that I installed. So now I would request you to please see the cinematic shots of my bike along with the crash guard. Post that I'll talk why I chose this one. Alright.
Check the mic and make sure it sound right, boys.
As I said, I'll tell you which crash guard that I have installed, which you have already seen the cinematic shots. This is the Sahyadri Motors crash guard, and the reason why I installed Sahyadri's is because, you see, this is the stock crash guard. This is also very good, extremely good, very durable, very strong. However, when I keep it simultaneously along with the Sahyadri Motors crash guard, you see this, the slider are a bit, and that too I don't have the exact space to keep it because this is already fitted, otherwise this will still further go in. But even if I place it here, the sliders are a bit above, I would say at least 3 odd inches ahead of the stock crash guards. And more importantly, the Sahyadri crash guards are very tall. Now if you see, this has the capacity to protect your tank. Alright, it will definitely have a lot of protection on your radiators and definitely the engine with 2 sliders. And as I said, when there is an impact, and if you have crash guard, old school thought, a crash guard, if you have a crash guard, the crash guard will definitely take a better impact than a slider, a frame slider, because at the time of impact, both the ends will absorb the impact. That means the impact will be distributed among both the ends, and hence the probability of it damaging the bike, damaging the engine is less. And that is the reason why I preferred crash guard, which is Sahyadri. Yes, there are other crash guards in the market. I don't want to get into discussions whether they are good, bad, ugly or what. But I felt after a lot of R&D that these are better than the rest, and hence I chose this. So if you do like the video, do hit like button, do share and do subscribe to the channel. Yes, love you all, take care, bye bye, tada, and yes, do subscribe. Thank you.